Having a second or even third power source while full-time traveling, camping, or even just doing long trips is almost a necessity. Take it from our experience, you never want to be out of power in a situation when you need power. Our portable power station has been a lifesaver for us, and in this video, I'm just going to spit out all of the research that I did for it before we purchased ours, and hopefully it's helpful for you. And everything I talk about in this video is going to be linked in the description below, so if you want to double check the specs or check it out yourselves, feel free to do so. If you're unfamiliar with power stations and kind of the terminology and everything, the last segment in this video is dedicated to explaining some of those things. So skip ahead to that if you want to watch that first. Otherwise, at number one, the best overall solar portable generator that you can get is the Jackery 2000 Explorer. This is pretty much the best overall portable power station that you can get because it has over 2,200 watts of storage and 2,042 watt hours. It does weigh 40 pounds, so a little heavier than the other ones on our list, but it does have a very fast charging capability and it can be solar charged. They claim that it can charge 80% of those 2,200 watts in about 45 to 60 minutes and 100% charge in about an hour and a half to 3 hours. This is probably the most expensive power station that we have on this list today, but it is expensive for a reason. Between the fast charging, the 2,200 watts, which is plenty of power to charge computer, phones, Wi-Fi, Starlink if you have Starlink, for multiple hours and not get drained. On top of that, it is the solar compatible, so you can plug in the solar panels while you are charging it, and the solar panels, from what I have read, do charge very efficiently. And as long as you don't suck all of the battery out of it with plugging in like a refrigerator or a microwave or something that requires a ton of power, this battery should be able to last you multiple hours to days or even a week if you plan out the power usage accordingly. Ours is about 500 watts and it lasts us easily one day. Overall, this is probably the best power station you can get for portability, power usage supply, and fast charging. And if you're looking to buy a larger portable power station, I would use this one as the baseline and then compare more of the key metrics if that's something you're interested in doing. And before we get to number two, if this video has been helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. And now for number two on this list, we have the Bluetti AC70 portable power station. This is going to be the best power station on this list if portability is your biggest factor, because it only weighs 22 pounds. It also has 1,000 watts and 768 watt hours. But like I said, the key factor for this one is its size and the weight. At 22 pounds, it is almost half the weight of the Jackery from one we just talked about. It does also have that solar panel compatibility, and Bluetti does sell solar panels, so you can just buy those right away so you don't have to worry about any connection issues. And this one can also charge about 80% of the battery in less than an hour, which is really nice if you're looking to get on the road fast. It does have multiple outlets. It has USB outlets. It also has multiple ways to charge your phone. So really versatile with the outlets there for the size of this portable generator. But that 22 pounds is also a good weight where if you are backpacking somewhere or traveling for a long time and you need power, you can sacrifice carrying 22 pounds and you will feel it, but it won't cripple your movements. It does have about half the wattage as the Jackery from number one. However, like I said, big thing is the weight and the size. And also that difference in wattage is reflected in the price, as it is about half the price as the Jackery. Number three on this list is the most affordable option, which is the Flashfish solar generator. This is a great starter or small generator, but like I said, it is the most affordable option. So some of those premium features that you get with the Jackery and the Bluetti, you just don't have with the Flashfish solar generator. It does have 560 watts along with 520 watt hours. You may notice that it is about half of the Bluetti and a quarter of the Jackery. However, the big selling point is the price. This solar generator is about $200, which is less than half the Bluetti and a quarter of the Jackery. So a very large financial saver there. And you can also get it with 200 watt solar panels for $500 total for the generator and the solar panels. However, some of the things you are losing out on is it does not charge very fast. This is the solar generator that we currently have because we decided that the price right now is more important than the fast charging and the wattage storage. And from personal experience, it does take multiple hours to charge to 80%. I'd say within 5 or 6 hours, it's at 100%, but you're still looking at 2 to 3 hours to get to that 80% mark, which is 2 to 3 times longer than the other ones on this list. But like I said, really great affordable option. It's very small, it's very portable, very light. So if you're looking for kind of a third power source just at night to keep things quiet and plug it in so you don't need to run a generator or something, this is the option for you. Now 4 and 5 on this list, we're gonna kind of do together, because if one of these first 3 didn't fit your criteria, because they either were too large, too expensive, or too small, then 4 and 5 are kind of a middle road, good combination of all 3 of these things. They don't do anything exceptionally well, but they do everything pretty good. These are very solid generators. Would definitely recommend getting these if you're kind of in that middle ground of upgrading your solar generator, but don't want to commit to the full price of over $2,000. So at 4, we have the Anker Solix C1000. And at 5, we have the Bluetti AC 180 Portable Power Station. They both have 1,800 watts. The Anker does have a faster charge time with about an hour. The Bluetti is around 2 hours charge time. Hit that 80% mark. The Anker is 30 pounds and the Bluetti is 40 pounds. Both are solar panel compatible. However, the main difference is the price. The Anker Solix is going to cost you anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200, while the Bluetti is going to hover more around the $800 range. So if weight and charging time is not a huge factor for you, Bluetti is probably a better option. But if that extra 10 pounds, an extra couple hours charging is really important to you, Anker is probably the choice to go with. And that concludes the list of the top 5 portable power stations that I would recommend if you are full-time RVing, traveling for a couple of days, or just want a backup power source. And now for the rest of the video, we're going to be getting into more of the specifications of what all of this terminology means. And I do want to specify that there are outliers for weight, power storage, power output, and size. And you can pay like a premium for these things, but if it isn't that important to you, going with just one that is standard in pretty much every way is probably the best option. The first one is going to be continuous power, and this is simply how much power can be pulled out of the battery at once, from my understanding. If you are going to be charging and using a lot of things at once, you're going to want something that has a slightly higher continuous power. But if you're just charging like computer, phone, flashlights, Wi-Fi, not something you really need to worry about. The next spec that we're going to talk about is peak power, and this is the max power that the power bank can supply for a short amount of time. This is important to keep in mind because when you plug in something like Starlink, it takes anywhere from 100 to 140 watt hours until it gets connected. And once you have that Wi-Fi established, then you're looking around 80 watt hours to keep it running. Another great example of this is a refrigerator. You can't really power a refrigerator on any of the things we listed today. They're not big enough, but refrigerators easily take 2 to 4 times to start powering, turn on, everything like that, as opposed to when it's just constantly running, it uses much less power. Most electronics do this where they require a slightly higher power surge in the beginning and then they kind of peter off once they are constant. And if you are powering something that is a little more power requirement, maybe there's something you want to look into more. Otherwise, you can blow a fuse, or the power bank will just has a safety in it. It just won't allow that power to be pulled out. I know with ours, we tried powering the air fryer and this would happen. It would run the air fryer for like a minute or two and then it would shut off, which is a bummer. The next spec that we're going to be talking about is arguably the most important, which is wattage. This is basically how much juice you have in your power bank available. So 2,200 watts versus 1,100 watts. The 2,200 simply will just run twice as long as the 1,100, and the higher wattage the power bank is, the longer it'll last, the more power it can supply over longer periods of time. However, that wattage you are going to pay a premium for. Anything over 2, maybe 3,000 watts, and you are looking at an exponential increase in price. Just from the list of R5, the one we have was about $200 for 500, and if you wanted to multiply this by 4, you are paying almost 10 times as much for that power generator. Also, a small thing to keep in mind is that the higher the wattage, just the more charging time it's going to need. The last one we're talking about is watt hours, and this is simply how much wattage is used per hour, and this is more for powering things than how much output the generator is going to do. Most of these have like a 2,000 wattage and like 2,000 watt hours, which means if you max out the power output for the solar generators, it will last about 1 hour. To calculate this, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Many electronics will have how much wattage they require. For example, if you have 2 fans that both say they are a 50 watt fan, that means to run for 1 hour, they require 50 watt hours. So if you have 2 fans running for 2 hours at 50 watts, that is 200 watt hours required total for that time span to run for those fans. And if you want a slightly more accurate reading, you just divide this by 0.85 because it's about 85% efficient. So really you're looking at 235 watt hours to run those 2 fans for 2 hours. This will vary depending on the electronic. We mainly use ours to power Starlink, which requires about 80 watt hours. So with 550 wattage storage at 80 watt hours, we're looking anywhere from 6 to 7 hours of constant Starlink power. Well, I hope this video was helpful and that the research that I did before making this video saves you time with your research. And everything we talked about is linked in the description below. If you do also want a free month of Starlink, check out that link in the description. And be sure to subscribe to see more helpful tools and tips about RVing and camping and traveling in general.